this story is a living passion. I'm not crashing.
Hi, my name's Rex Beanland and welcome to this week's painting demonstration. We're going to do a scene with a building here today. My colors today are cad yellow light, cad red light, quinacridone magenta, cerulean blue, and ultramarine blue. And I'm going to start off by doing the roof of this building. And I just want to get a bit of some tinted water, and I'm going to add a little blue to it to neutralize it. Okay, and then I'm just going to fill in the entire roof area. That'll be fine. And I am using rough paper this week, which is something I actually like to use, and I'm starting to use more and more, but I just happen to have it out today. So I'm going to just float some color in here, and I particularly want it to be redder down near the bottom, and it can more fade off up at the top there. Okay, I'm just going to tilt it a bit because I've got a puddle happening here. So I won't show this the next time, but I do this frequently. Rather than mopping up that puddle, I like to tilt the board and then let the water do some mixing. It tends to create colors that are far more interesting than I could mix on the palette. And now my center of interest is going to be right here. So I'm going to hit this area with the strongest red. Okay, what I think I'm going to do is tilt it and take my little spray bottle here, my mister, just to get this paint to do a bit more running. Okay, I'm just going to introduce a little more color into this roof. I don't actually want that to be too magenta-ish. Okay, I think that'll be good. I just want a bit more of the red in this side. Oh, and see when I misted it, I'll just mop that up. And I think I just want to lift up the front of this chimney there. I just forgot to draw on these two windows, so I've just added them now. And the other thing I think I'm going to do is just do a little pre-wetting on this. Because I want this shadow to all run together. Okay, so I'm going to start out with ultramarine blue. And one part that's quite important, the shadow comes down, and then in the opening for the doorway, it takes that straight jog up, and on this side a straight jog down, and then it carries on. And that'll be really important at the end. And now I want to switch to my cerulean, and I want to kind of create the sense of these shadows from this tree, and they're going to go okay, and I just want to play with this a little bit to make it a little bit more tree-like. So I'll have some of these just with pure water now. I think I'll just come in and try and soften. Let's switch to the number 12 round. Just one thing, I just want to put the shadow underneath. And then the other thing, I want the shadow from this whole business that's reflected on the lawn. I actually want that to be all part of the thing, so I'm just going to kind of go over that. And this is the one aspect I love of the rough paper, you really get that crinkly, broken dry brush type effect. Just kind of get an orangey thing here, because it's kind of winter grass. Because the grass is a real minor player in this little scenario, so I'll just try and get it finished the first time. So I'm going to try and this bench. Okay, now I want all of these, all the trim, the windows, the doors are all green. So I'm going to start off with the lighter value of that green. Just need a little more pigment in there. Okay, now these windows, everything that's at least partially in shadow, I'm going to do it in two stages. I'm going to do the part that's in the bright sunlight, and then I'm going to do the part in the shadow separately. Now these ones over here have little bits of the sunlit section peeping out behind the shadows. So I need to paint around these shadows. This is all dry, so I'll do the trim here, which is green. And along here. In fact, this one over here is mostly in shadow, so I'll use a different green. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. What I think I'll do is just add a bit, make it gray from the cad red light and its complement cerulean blue, because there's a bit of a thing under them, and that's the only one that really shows. While I'm waiting for that to dry, I think I'll just move on a bit, and this up here, I'm going to take a bit of a neutralized orange and do the back, the side of this chimney that's away from the light. I think these are still too wet, so what I'm going to do is start on these windows that are in the shadow, and I want them to be really, I want them to be lost in the shadow. That's the basic effect I'm going for. Lose those in the shadow, but I have to have some detail. I just want to make sure that it's fairly light value. In fact, what I'm going to do is follow the same process. I'll do okay, and I'll do the same with this doorway here, so that we can see it. I've dried it off, and I've also erased some of the pencil lines. Just be simpler to do it now. Okay, so this is the background from the windows, and kind of the trim inside the windows is this color. But the inside of the windows is a much darker value. So I need to get a nice green. And okay, now into those windows, I mean, that's definitely a darker value, but it's, again, really boring, just one color. So I'm going to take some, and remembering probably the door is more important than the window, so I'll just put some red in this one. And some other colors. And that, you can see that really makes those, okay, so just going to add a little bit more up here. And I think while I'm doing this, Okay, now the door of the window, so I'll start with the base green. It has like one window in it. And I think what I'll do is have it come right, actually no I won't. I want this to be good dark mixture here. This door is recessed about 3 inches in from the wall, so that hopefully will show that. As I look at this, I could certainly use a little more definition up here. As much as possible, if I can get this the first time, that's really good. So try and mix the right value. Okay, now I'm going to go over to these windows, and again, my whole thing is when it's in the sunlight, bright definition. When it's in the shade, very little definition. So I'm going to come over and try and do these much looser. In fact, I want them to be really light. So much looser. So one thing I did forget earlier, I didn't notice, is that there's a bit of the brighter one shining through the shadow there. And the same thing here, where it's in the light, then I give it strong definition. And same thing, add some red in there just to really liven it up. There's also a shadow on this roof cast by this. Yeah, no, actually I'm not going to just let it dry quite yet. Might as well get this now. There's a drain pipe, which is, I'm just going to lose part of it in the shadows, but it's a nice design idea. It comes down here, hooks out, and gets lost in there. And the next thing I'm going to do is put the shadow underneath the roof. So just add all of that. I think I want it more to the blue side here. And so there's a large shadow that comes from this underhang, goes right over. Okay, so I'm just taking a little bit of this dark mixture here, and I'm just putting it, yeah, that'll be better. And this building here is more in the shadow, so I'm going to tone down all of its shadows. Oh yeah, the one thing I just want to do, I just want to separate the roof top of these dormers from the main roof. So I'll just take a light mixture of the red. I think I'm going to find I have too much red up here, so just want to tone that down a bit. It's been bothering me for a while. Just get rid of the top of that bit. Okay, and now I'm going to do this tree, and all I know is I want it to be a real dark value. A dark gray, hopefully. Okay, so that's quite red. Quite purplish. Okay, and then in this tree I'm just going to do, it's sort of out of the picture, actually I think what I'll do, no, I'll use this brush. I'm trying not to make it too busy. I've already made it very busy. I'm just going to squeeze out a little Viridian because I just want to, I think it'll help me get some darks here. So I'll start to take, and let's get this cleaned off. Start with my ultramarine, a little magenta, and take a bit of that green. And some of these, particularly at the top edge here, I'm just going to soften this because I don't want a lot of detail up there. Okay, so I've just added a bit more ultramarine because the theory is you don't want to run out of paint in the middle and have to start getting more out. So take this a little more to the purple side, just a bit damper, and I want to have this a dark shadow that's kind of in here. And I want it to start over here. Okay, also while I have this, I just want to emphasize this corner a little bit. So I'll bring some of that down. I'm just taking pure water here. I'll get my big brush back. And I'm just going to soak parts of the white, certainly all the white up here, so that my pure white is just going to be down here in the middle. So take some of this up here. A little bit down there. Even more. And that'll really read as a much more realistic approach. Now one thing I can see that I want, and I'm going to stop, take a look at it. I think one thing, this bench is competing too much. This is drying, it should just be perfect now. I just want to scrape out with this hotel key again. A few details in here. Yeah. Okay, I've taken a look, and I certainly could stop at this point. It's basically finished. I just think I want to punch up a few of the values, and I'll start with some of this green trim. So I need a much darker value of green. Whoa. And I also want to punch up these windows a little bit. Something that's really dark. To do this window, and I think I'll work on the overall value here. Add some of that. Yeah, a little bit more. And this one over here, I think it's a little weak. And also the door in the shadow area. I want to make a little bit more of that. Yeah, the one thing, I think I could have used a stronger shadow, even though at the beginning I thought I was way overdoing it. Now when I look at it, I'm not so sure. So I just want to punch that shadow up and make the red work harder by taking some of it away. I think the one thing I could do if I wanted, maybe just add a bit more value to those shadows. And I think what I'm going to do is just call that a day. I hope you've enjoyed this. I certainly have, and we will see you next time.